So we are less than a week away from Thanksgiving, which is really exciting, and I know that people are really happy around this time of the year, around the holidays, which just warms my heart because they get to see their family and follow traditions. That's super exciting, I think. I get really excited about tradition, you know. It's just comforting. That being said, though, the holidays can be a hard time for fitness-minded people. And I shouldn't say a hard time as in they don't enjoy their family or they don't enjoy eating, because let's be real, we like to eat. But what I mean is it can be hard because frankly, the majority of people's family, unless you're in a really fitness-oriented family, in which case, like, good for you, that's ideal for you, right? Because then you don't have to explain things to people. People aren't confused or annoyed with you. But for the most part, people's families don't understand your lifestyle. And some people, even if they don't understand, are really good about it. You know, so like, for example, my dad, he used to kind of joke with me about it. You know, when I first got into bodybuilding and stuff, he would joke about, like, what can you eat? Or, you know, what do I have in my fridge that you can eat? You know, what should I, but he, in saying that and in joking with me, he would also say, what would you like me to go get you before you get here? You know, I can put things in the fridge. That would be so rude of me to have you as a guest and to not adhere to, you know, something that you follow. It would just, you know, just be like if you had some kind of a food allergy or an intolerance, or if you were a vegetarian, which I am not, but, you know, that kind of thing. You know, he was just like, I get that it's not my thing, you know, but he also knows that what I'm doing is a healthy thing. So even though it's different than what he does, he accepted it and he did what he could. And he really went out of his way. I'm not just saying him, but like, this is just an example. He would really go out of his way to make that work for me, you know, and really keep that in mind. And I do know that some parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, you know, some people's family members really are good about that. And, you know, bless you guys, because so many people out there are just trying to make healthy changes for themselves, and they're trying to get more into fitness. They're trying to get their body, you know, healthier, in better shape. They really want to improve their well-being, and their family's like, hey, what's wrong with you? And I think that that can be really tough. Obviously, it can be really tough to stay on track because you have all these influences, you know, essentially negative influences about your journey. Not to say that they're negative in the sense that you shouldn't be able to relax on the holidays and have a few extra treats here and there. I will be. Trust me, I am not someone who sticks to my diet totally over the holidays. I'm much more conscious, I would say, than the average person, because I know what will make me uncomfortable, you know, that kind of a thing. And I've learned that, but I go all out, you know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving, you know, it's a feast, but it doesn't have to be a binge, okay? So I'll talk about that later. But the whole point, though, is that people have a really hard time going into the holidays. It can be a really anxious time for people who are trying to be fit, because yes, they might be, you know, counting a little bit more of their food, but they want to have a good time with their family more than anything. And when family members, you know, come back at them with you're so weird, why are you, you know, portioning things out like that? Why aren't you grazing? You know, like, people will offer you food from like a snack table or something, or, you know, like they will lay treats out and that kind of a thing, and people will graze throughout the day. And, you know, if someone who's being a little more conscious of their intake that day and maybe they just want to save to have a huge meal with their family, the actual Thanksgiving, you know, big meal, and that's why they don't want to graze, like, they don't know that it's because they're, you know, restricting themselves. To the contrary, maybe they're just trying to, like, save room, you know what I mean? But family can be, unfortunately, very judgmental about this. And, you know, everyone, I would say that, like I said, unless you're in a really fitness-oriented family, like your parents, your grandparents were athletes, bodybuilders, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, they're personal trainers, then for the most part, everyone's family members aren't going to be on the same page as you, and that can be tough. So I would just like to talk a little bit about, like, what language you can use to talk with them, and hopefully get them to kind of ease off a little bit, but also understand where you're coming from. Not just, you know, create a distance between you two and have them not speak to you. That's not what you want. But there are ways for you to, you know, just say, hey, this is me. Here's why I do it if you're interested. And maybe this will make you a little bit less confused and maybe you won't think it's quite as weird. Okay, so I would say the first thing to remember, even if it's frustrating that your family does not understand what you're trying to do, your habits, what you eat, what you maybe don't that you used to, the thing that's important to remember is that first and foremost, I would say the majority of them, when it comes across as being judgmental, and that's not to say that they could maybe say things in a different way, but please try and remember that they might just be concerned for you. So if they're uninformed, for example, about what counting macros is, and they see you entering your food into MyFitnessPal, for example, they might think that what you're doing is unhealthy because they don't understand that by tracking things, that you are allowing yourself to have, unhealthy foods, traditionally unhealthy foods that aren't considered off limits with flexible dieting or macro tracking. So please just try and remember, it can be kind of hard for you to be accepting of their view when they're not doing the same to you, but try and remember that they might honestly just be concerned for you and they don't want you to be doing something unhealthy. So the best way to go about that is just to educate them. Maybe they want to know more. Maybe they don't, but for the most part, people want to know about your life, right? So if you have something like new going on and you're doing this new thing called, counting macros, or even if you're just really working out regularly for the first time in a while, and maybe they don't understand why you would work out on Thanksgiving, like, oh, what a weird concept, you should just relax on Thanksgiving. Just educate them. Just say, like, hey, I got a workout in this morning. It felt great, and now I feel really relaxed throughout the day, and I got some great endorphins, and so sometimes I like to stay on track with my training so I can hang out with you guys, more stress-free. People really don't understand the food aspect though, so educating them about macros, that'd be a great place to start if you're educated enough yourself, you know what I mean? If you feel comfortable explaining that to them. I do, because that's my job, and actually some of my family has kind of transitioned into that now, being more conscious about that, which is great, and I didn't force them to do that or anything like that. But once you explain something that's so welcoming of so many types of people, like flexible dieting, right? Because it's essentially saying you can eat whatever you want. You're going to set some numbers for yourself and try and hit those goals, but to fill that, try and eat good foods, try and get fruits and veggies in, so you can have micronutrients and your vitamins and minerals, but otherwise flexible dieting is for everyone. I mean, that's the whole point. You don't have to restrict yourself. So, if you explain, you just explain to people that this is what it is. I do this so that I don't restrict myself. So actually what I'm doing is a really healthy thing, and it's helping me stay at a healthy weight. It's helping me perform better in my sport, maybe they would just be like, wow, okay, so they're doing this so that they can eat more treats, or it's not really like that, but right. But if you kind of explain that to your family, they might be a little bit more willing to ease off a little bit, right? Because like I said, they may honestly just be concerned for you. So just try and keep that in mind. Your family at the end of all of this, no matter how much you butt ends with them, they love you, and so they want to ensure that you're okay. And they can get a little off track in that sometimes by being judgmental and things like that. And it's not just family, right? I mean, friends can do this too, but I'm just talking about around the holidays. You're going to be around family. Just try and see it from their point of view, and in doing so, and if you see it from their point of view and think, if someone didn't know what I was doing, it might look unhealthy, so let me educate them and let them into my life in this way, and they might have a better mindset, next holiday. So do it for Thanksgiving. When Christmas rolls around, they're like, hey, are you still counting those macros or whatever? That would be awesome if you guys could connect on that, right? And they could understand you. It's awkward to talk about it first sometimes, but it will help in the future. Okay, so I'd say the next thing is, if you do try and explain, what you're doing to them, and they still don't understand it, or they're still really judging it, or they still really, think that it's weird, then just say, I'm not going to let this affect, my holiday with you. And so, why don't we just kind of table it? If we're not going to understand each other on this, then we don't have to, and I'm not asking you to count macros with me, right? So why don't we just both kind of table it and talk about something totally unrelated. And this can go with even people who might be understanding of it, right? But you still just don't want to talk about it all the time. And so, do it, if you want to, attempt to explain it to them, but you don't have to. You really don't have to try. I mean, it's nice to have someone understand it, but if you really don't want to go into that explanation, you don't have to. This is the whole point of you don't have to explain yourself. You really don't. They don't have to explain why they don't exercise to you, even though, it's recommended by doctors across the world. So you shouldn't have to explain why you eat healthy or, track your intake and work out on Thanksgiving morning. You know what I'm saying? It goes both ways. And maybe you could politely say something like that to them. I don't ask, I don't ask you to explain, why you don't do these things. So maybe let's just agree to disagree, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with you guys having a different view on life, especially if you feel comfortable in choosing something that is healthy for you and choosing something that gives you greater peace of mind. I'm sorry. Can we talk about this? You guys. Sorry. Okay, so kind of just to summarize, the important things are, first and foremost, that you do not have to explain yourself to anyone. They don't explain themselves to you and their daily habits and everything they put into their mouth to you. So don't feel the need, just because it's different from what they do, to constantly be explaining yourself. There's a nice way to just defer that, right? But also feel free to educate them if they're open to it. Because who knows, maybe it'll just foster, a better relationship and better understanding between the two of you, and just cut out any extra, awkwardness, right? But then also, kind of going back to you don't have to explain yourself. Be ready to just agree to disagree, because sometimes there are those situations, and not everyone has the same lifestyle, and it's okay. So just be okay to be like, hey, I love you. I'm excited to see you, but let's not talk about this, and let's just agree to disagree, because I don't think we're on the same page, and that's totally fine with me. And mean it. And sometimes it's hard to get to that point, because you really would love to share it with them, but it's not always going to be that way. And sometimes we just have to kind of brush it off and appreciate those that do understand, and appreciate the ones that don't, for different reasons, right? I mean, our lives don't or shouldn't revolve around what we eat and work out, right? So look at the bigger picture. If this is important to you, but they don't understand it, that's fine. Just move on. But ultimately the holidays should be fun, and they should be filled with love, and anything else that you like to do around the holidays, time off, good meals, everything. So I don't want it, I want to help it not be stressful, because I've been there before. It can be stressful, but it really does not have to. And it breaks my heart that sometimes the holidays can be such a time of stress instead of a positive thing for people, just because they're trying to, be more fit, and they can go hand in hand. They really can. There are some little things that you can do, not huge deals, but just little things that you can do to kind of stay on track. Not meaning to do exactly what you do day to day, because I do think that there should be some wiggle room, and I'll kind of explain what I mean in my next video, but I do think that there should be some wiggle room, but there's no need to get totally off track and feel anxious when all the family's gone about like, oh, I just let everything go out the window. But that's not really what makes me happy. There's a middle ground for sure. So I really want to help you with that, or help anyone out there who's had any struggles with that, because it's real. I mean, it is real. It's hard to find that balance, and but I'm all about that balance, which you'll learn. So so next video I'm going to talk a lot about just little things that you can do to stay on track while also having, a ton of fun and not stressing. So I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I hope you guys are really excited. I'm excited about the holidays, and if you've had a bad experience in the past, let's try and get past that. Maybe work on a few things that that can help, and they've helped me, and I think that they can help a lot of other people too. So I'll talk to you next time. Please subscribe, like, and subscribe so that you can see when the next one pops up. And I'll talk to you soon.